Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because the entertainment world just set itself on fire and the flames are spreading faster than Kris Jenner spotting a new brand deal. You thought Love and Hip Hop was messy before? Oh no! This is next level chaos. Cameras rolling, phones shaking, Twitter fingers typing like their lives depend on it, and right in the middle of it all, we've got Yandy Smith, the so-called queen of keeping it classy, turning into the queen of clapbacks overnight. Why? Because her longtime man, Mendeecees, just got caught in a cheating scandal so outrageous it makes Tristan Thompson look like a faithful husband. And here's the kicker. The other woman allegedly hiding in the shadows. None other than Tamar Braxton. You heard me? Tamar Braxton. Now tell me what happens when reality TV drama crashes headfirst into real-life betrayal. What happens when your private texts, doorbell camera footage, and late-night sneaky links all become public property? And most importantly, how do you survive when the entire internet is binge-watching your heartbreak like it's the season finale of Game of Thrones? Grab your popcorn, because this isn't just gossip, this scandal of the year, and trust me, you're not ready for what comes next. It all began with what looked like another ordinary night in Atlanta, but behind the doors of Yandy Smith's perfectly curated home, the illusion of perfection was crumbling. For years, fans had admired her carefully crafted image as the woman who could balance love, loyalty, family, and fame, all while projecting the glow of stability that made her relationship with Mendeecees Harris appear untouchable. They had been through ups and downs before, but somehow always sold the story of unity to the world. Matching outfits at Christmas, sweet anniversary posts, filtered snapshots that made them look like the picture of resilience. Yandy and Mendeecees had branded themselves as the couple that others envied. Yet, as history often proves, when the spotlight shines too brightly on the surface, it leaves deep shadows where secrets fester. And in those shadows, Mendeecees had been moving in ways that would soon set the internet ablaze. Rumors had started subtly, the kind of whispers that only the most devoted fans picked up on. A late night where Mendeecees was spotted leaving an unfamiliar building, a cryptic caption from Yandy with an oddly chosen emoji. A brief disappearance from social media stories where normally both shared constant updates. Fans pieced these tiny signals together but dismissed them as harmless until one anonymous tipster decided to step into the arena. According to this insider, Yandy received a series of screenshots late at night from a hidden number. At first, she thought it was a cruel prank, another attempt to stir drama where none existed. But her heart sank when she saw what stared back at her from the glowing screen. Mendeecees, her partner, the man she had defended and promoted for years, was writing flirtatious and secretive messages to a contact simply saved as the letter T. The texts were short but damning, filled with longing promises of secret meetings, and statements like, "I cannot wait to see you, and remember, this has to stay between us." For Yandy, who had fought to maintain loyalty in an industry where temptation is currency, this was a knife to the chest. But the story did not end with screenshots. Almost as if the universe itself wanted to amplify the betrayal, a video surfaced. Captured not by paparazzi, but by a neighbor's doorbell camera. In the grainy yet undeniable footage, Mendeecees was seen slipping out of a building late at night, hat pulled low and hoodie drawn tight, but his face recognizable enough to silence any excuses. What made the footage explosive was the location of the building itself. According to the anonymous source, the apartment belonged to none other than Tamar Braxton. Yes, Tamar, the singer and television personality whose life had already been a carousel of headlines. Suddenly being pulled into a vortex of scandal that nobody saw coming. The suggestion that Yandy's partner had been secretly involved with Tamar was enough to send social media spiraling into hysteria. Fans who had once treated Yandy and Mendeecees as aspirational now found themselves rewriting the narrative in real time. Yandy at first tried to keep the storm private, torn between disbelief and fury. But as more evidence poured in, she realized silence would only make her look complicit. The next day, gathering her closest friends as witnesses and allies, she confronted Mendeecees directly. And she did not do it behind closed doors. In the age of instant virality, when betrayal unfolds, it is not confined to quiet arguments. It becomes a broadcast for the world to devour. Fans nearby noticed tension, voices raised, movements hurried. Phones emerged from pockets, cameras pointed toward Yandy's home. And within minutes, the confrontation leaked to the public. Clips began circulating online. Yandy pacing her voice, trembling yet sharp as a blade, demanding answers. While Mendeecees tried to brush off the accusations with nervous laughter and stammered excuses. He insisted it was not what it looked like, but the evidence was too overwhelming, and Yandy's determination to uncover the truth gave him no place to hide. The internet did what it always does. It amplified the moment into a cultural event. Trended within minutes, reaction videos appeared on TikTok, dissecting every word. Twitter threads speculated on how long the affair had lasted. And Instagram bloggers reposted the doorbell footage until it became impossible to scroll without seeing it. Influencers took sides, some praising Yandy for exposing betrayal with strength. Others mocking Mendeecees for thinking he could juggle secrets in a digital world where nothing stays hidden. While a few remained suspiciously quiet, as though protecting their own alliances. The frenzy only grew when yet another leak appeared, this time direct messages between Mendeecees and Tamar, laced with inside jokes and references to private meets that painted a picture of a connection far deeper than a one-time lapse in judgment. Inside Yandy's home, the confrontation escalated to near cinematic levels. Her friends gasped as she read the messages aloud. The betrayal no longer speculation, but cold, hard reality. Mendeecees shifted uncomfortably, sweat forming at his hairline, unable to deny what was in front of him. And then came the twist. That turned a personal heartbreak into an industry-shaking spectacle. Yandy revealed she had reached out to Tamar directly, and Tamar admitted knowing about the secret encounters. That admission detonated like a bomb in the room and across social media. Mendeecees stood stunned, his mouth open in disbelief, while Yandy's allies erupted in anger. Fans online immediately turned Tamar into the next target of speculation, dissecting her motives, debating whether she was a willing conspirator or an unsuspecting participant pulled into chaos. Stopped by the end of the night, Atlanta was not just buzzing, it was roaring. Gossip channels uploaded their takes, bloggers went live with dramatic retellings, and reaction clips gained millions of views. Memes flooded feeds portraying Yandy as a queen rising from betrayal and Mendeecees as the reckless villain who underestimated the power of receipts. Tamar's silence only added gasoline to the fire, as every vague post from her account was treated like a coded confession. What began as whispers had erupted into an inferno that nobody could escape, and the scandal was only beginning to unravel. The fallout from that night spread faster than anyone could have imagined, and by the following morning, the scandal had evolved into a full-scale digital circus where every corner of the internet had something to say about Yandy, Mendeecees, and Tamar. Bloggers who once praised Yandy for her business savvy were now analyzing her tears frame by frame, while others zoomed in on Tamar's old posts, looking for hidden clues of betrayal and secret references to her supposed meetings with Suze. And we all know I've been exploring with Mendeecees. Fans compiled timelines with forensic precision, connecting dots from tour dates to Instagram stories to speculate exactly when the affair might have started and how long it had been concealed. Anonymous sources who may or may not even exist suddenly emerged, claiming they had seen Mendeecees and Tamar dining discreetly in Los Angeles or slipping into a private section of a lounge in New York. One source swore they had even overheard an argument between the two in a hotel lobby, while another claimed Tamar was frequently spotted with expensive gifts that did not match her public income streams, hinting that someone else was funding her luxuries. Whether true or not, the internet devoured every word like scripture because nothing fuels the fire of scandal like the possibility of secret money and hidden trysts. Public reaction was relentless. Memes multiplied by the second portraying Yandy as a warrior queen betrayed by a court jester, Mendeecees as the man who could not stay faithful even if his life depended on it, and Tamar as the femme fatale stepping out of a soap opera. Twitter erupted with trending topics that mocked the couple's past declarations of loyalty. Old clips from Love and Hip Hop resurfaced showing Yandy defending Mendeecees against critics, and those clips were now played side by side with the leaked messages to emphasize the depth of the betrayal. Instagram gossip pages ran polls asking who was more to blame, and the results were savage, with the majority blaming Mendeecees, but a significant portion throwing shade directly at Tamar for stepping into a relationship that was already fragile. The scandal became so loud that even celebrities outside their circle began chiming in with cryptic tweets and comments, some condemning the behavior, while others simply throwing laughing emojis that added insult to injury. Then came the so-called investigative findings. Those wild claims presented by internet detectives who live for the thrill of piecing together half-baked theories. According to one viral thread, Mendeecees had been funneling money into a hidden account used to cover secret travel and luxury expenses for his alleged rendezvous with Tamar. Another supposed leak suggested that Yandy had already been suspicious months earlier and had quietly hired a private investigator who discovered receipts for hotel stays under fake names that always coincided with Tamar's performance schedule. These findings were never verified, yet the lack of proof did not matter because the narrative was far too entertaining to slow down. Anonymous voices added fuel by claiming Yandy had been warned by other women in the industry that Mendeecees was not as reformed as he portrayed himself, but she chose to ignore the red flags in order to protect the empire they had built together. Now, with the empire collapsing in public view, the same critics were circling like vultures, declaring that they had seen it coming all along. Inside Yandy's world, the chaos was overwhelming. Friends reached out, some offering comfort while others quietly distanced themselves to avoid being pulled into the storm. Business partners grew nervous as her name became associated with scandal instead of empowerment. Meanwhile, Tamar kept quiet on her own platforms, but that silence was almost worse than a confession because every blank space was filled with speculation. Fans demanded she speak up. Tabloids camped outside her home, and still she said nothing, which led many to believe the silence itself was an admission. For Mendeecees, the walls were closing in. Former allies stopped taking his calls, brand deals began to vanish, and his attempts to explain himself looked weaker with every passing day. He released a vague post about personal growth and learning from mistakes, but the audience was not buying it. In a culture that thrives on transparency and receipts, half-hearted apologies only fanned the flames. What made the situation even more electrifying was the appearance of leaked audio recordings, allegedly capturing conversations between Mendeecees and Tamar. In one clip that quickly went viral, a man's voice resembling Mendeecees was heard saying he would make sure everything was handled so Yandy never suspected, while a woman's voice that fans swore was Tamar's responded with laughter and a reminder to keep his story straight. Authentic or fabricated, the clip was gasoline on the fire. The scandal no longer felt like whispers, but like a carefully documented affair unraveling in real time, and the public had front row seats. By the time the second week of this saga rolled around, it was no longer about whether Mendeecees had cheated, but how deep the deception ran, how many people had helped keep it hidden, and how far the fallout would go. The internet was not just watching anymore. It was demanding answers, and those demands were about to grow louder. The storm showed no signs of calming as the scandal moved into its most explosive stage, with legal experts, gossip pundits, and even casual fans weighing in on what the consequences might be for everyone involved. For Yandy, the betrayal was not just emotional but financial, because much of her brand was tied to the image of being a strong wife, who stood by her man through trials and prison sentences, and now that loyalty had been weaponized against her. Lawyers began speculating on whether she would separate from Mendeecees formally, and if she did, how messy the division of assets might get, since so many of their ventures were intertwined. At the same time, there were whispers of potential lawsuits from Tamar's camp as her reputation took a nosedive with sponsors, questioning her professionalism and fans turning on her for being complicit in breaking up a household. Even though Tamar remained publicly silent, her team was reportedly in panic mode, trying to decide whether to address the rumors directly or allow the chaos to burn out on its own. But in the world of digital scandal, silence rarely saves you and instead fuels the speculation that something even worse is being hidden: government. Investigators also began to circle the story, not because they cared about the romantic drama, but because some of the alleged financial leaks hinted at possible tax evasion and misused funds. If the claims of hidden accounts and lavish spending on secret rendezvous had any truth, then Mendeecees could be looking at a far more serious crisis than angry tweets. There were rumors of subpoenas being drafted, of accountants being called to testify, and of audits that could freeze assets tied to both his and Yandy's names. For a couple that had just started to regain footing in business, this was a nightmare scenario. The public latched on to these rumors eagerly, because nothing captivates an audience like the possibility of a love scandal turning into a federal investigation. It gave the entire saga the flavor of a Netflix true crime series unfolding live, complete with potential indictments and courtroom drama waiting just around the corner. Meanwhile, social media remained a battlefield. Yandy supporters urged her to cut ties immediately and rebuild her empire, without the baggage of Mendeecees dragging her down, while others mocked her for ignoring red flags for so long and presenting an image of perfection when the cracks had always been visible. Mendeecees tried to regain sympathy with vague quotes about forgiveness and personal demons, but every attempt was shredded in the comments section, where people reminded him that personal demons are no excuse for humiliating your family on a global stage. Tamar's silence created another split among fans, with some believing she was protecting herself on legal advice, and others arguing that if she were innocent, she would have spoken by now. Every like, every unfollow, every subtle post from all three of them was treated like evidence in a trial. Where the jury was the entire internet, the entertainment industry could not ignore it either. Promoters quietly reconsidered bookings. Television producers debated whether Yandy's story could be turned into another season of reality TV. And gossip shows made this scandal their headline every night. Some insiders suggested that Yandy was already in talks with networks to tell her side exclusively, turning her pain into profit in the only way celebrities know how. Others speculated Tamar might try to spin the narrative with a tell-all interview where she would paint herself as a victim of manipulation rather than an accomplice. As for Mendeecees, the path looked bleak, with few allies left willing to attach their name to his dot. By the third week, the story had grown larger than the three names at its center, becoming a cautionary tale about trust, image, and the unforgiving glare of digital culture. Fans who once adored the idea of Yandy and Mendeecees now use them as memes about hypocrisy and poor choices. While Tamar became a symbol of temptation and betrayal in countless think pieces and podcasts. The scandal that began with a whisper of screenshots had escalated into a cultural earthquake, shaking careers, finances, and reputations with no sign of slowing down. The unanswered questions hung in the air like storm clouds. Would Yandy finally break free and turn her heartbreak into a victory lap? Would Mendeecees face not just public shame but legal action? And would Tamar find a way to clear her name, or would silence bury her deeper in suspicion? The world waited for the next leak, the next revelation, the next twist in a saga that had already rewritten the rulebook on celebrity scandals. And every passing day felt like the calm before another inevitable explosion. So here we are, standing at the edge of one of the wildest scandals to ever spill out of reality television and onto our screens. And the question is, what do you think happens next? Do you believe Yandy will finally slam the door shut on Mendeecees and rise stronger than ever? Or do you think forgiveness will creep back in and we will see yet another attempt at a fairy tale that looks good online but is rotten behind the scenes? And what about Tamar? Is she the silent mastermind who knew exactly what she was doing? Or is she simply caught in the crossfire of a man who could not keep his secrets hidden? The pieces are still moving and the truth is unraveling day by day. And you already know this is not the last chapter. I want to hear your thoughts because this story is bigger than gossip. It is about loyalty, image, betrayal, and how fast the internet can flip heroes into villains. Drop your comments below. Tell me who you believe. Tell me who is lying. And do not forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe because the next revelation could drop any minute. And you will want to be here first. Be here first.